Welcome to Ken's Corner Podcast, Season 2. It's time. Are you ready? Now here we go with your host, Ken Judge.
Hey everyone, today is a very exciting day. This is my season ending and I'm back with my first editor. She's busy out in Vietnam right now, all the way in Vietnam. Good morning, Vietnam. I've been dying to say that. But anyway, I'm Ken from Ken's Corner, and today this is our closing roundup for season 2. And I'm here with my host for today, Mary. I'm going to pass it over to Mary, and she's going to grill me with some questions on season 2. Mary, how are you?
Good. I'm doing good. And how are you doing, Ken? I have to
Well,
ask.
well, it's been a crazy time. I'm going to take the glasses off because I'm not going to ask any questions today. Uh, Last night I had my closing Indigenous circle for our family circle. I'm sorry that you weren't with us last night, but I know it's 6 o'clock at night here. It's a great balmy 6 o'clock in the morning out there in Vietnam. So you were loved, and everyone thought about you guys last night, and I showed your amazing blogs that you've been doing. Please keep coming with it, Mary. I love seeing them and showing them everyone and showing you guys off. But I'm going to pass it off to you, and I'm going to let you do what you do and run this podcast.
Are you wanting to share what this transformative conversation was for you last night?
Do you mean on the meeting?
The
Yeah.
exciting news?
Oh yeah, my son is coming home, so it's been a long 3 years, and Mr. Ash, soon to be judge. Actually, I'm in the court process later on today, actually. So the custody is transferring over, and Ash will get his name that he's been waiting so long for the last 3 years, and he can now be called AJ, Mr. Ash Judge. I want to introduce you to Ash Judge. So
Is that what he wants, AJ?
yeah, that's going to be his name. That's going to be his name. So, in saying that, that's why I'm wearing this shirt today. I mean, this shirt should be worn every day anyway, because every child does matter. And, but this is why I'm wearing this shirt today. It's an iconic shirt. It means a lot to our people. And, very thankful to be here today. Thank you, Mary.
Yeah, and I just want to say, from being on the sidelines for the past few years as you've been working towards this like big leap in Ash's life and your life as well, we're just so proud to see you and how you've grown and how you're in such a rare situation with the system and how he's returning back home. So I'm very proud, and I'm very excited for this journey for both of you and how this will change and like I don't know, just your life together now. It's going to be so beautiful, and we're really excited.
Thank you so
So
much.
now to the podcast,
Yeah.
because here we are, 1 year later from our last interview, but
Yeah.
almost 2 years now you've been podcasting. So when we started this, like I had mentioned last time, we had no idea really where this was going to go. We thought that we would just start talking sports and bring in the odd guests, but it's flourished into something that we were not expecting, and you are now on the radio. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your journey. What radio station, where can we find you, what do you talk about, and how did they approach you? That whole story of now you're on the radio.
Yeah, it's been a crazy 6 months on Whistle Radio. Actually, I'm going to do my little intro. My co-host, Joe Moyer, he tries to get me to do this all the time, but I like to be the sports analyst. So on that show, I'm used to being questioned, and so I guess it kind of sets me up for today. Last year, I wasn't too used to it. I'm used to being the guy firing the questions and wearing my glasses and looking down at my book every 2 minutes to make sure that I stay online and give these people that are on my podcast the respect that they deserve, and the time that they're taking out to join me on Ken's Corner. But yes, I'm Ken Judge, and I'm from Sports Timeout, and our station is called Whistle Radio, so it's Whistle Radio 102.9 FM Stouffville. I don't know if that was good, but that is me. Come check us out week, every Saturday, 5:30 to 6. They're so gracious to give me that time slot. I came in asking for it and was kind of like bullish with it. I want a half-hour show, and my CEO, Mr. Pritchard, said, "You're going to give me a half hour? This is what I'm hearing?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going to give you a half hour." He's like, "Okay, this is what I've been waiting for." I'm like, "Oh," I'm like, "What did I get myself into?" But my co-host Joe Moyer, he's such a he doesn't think he's that great of a sports guy, but I'm telling you, he can keep up to me in every way possible, and he keeps me honest and keeps those questions flying and tries to stump me and rebuke some of my. We don't always see eye to eye on. I mean, in sports world, you're never going to see eye to eye. So he keeps me honest that way, and it's been so much fun for the last, I guess, 6 months, and we're now into this sports timeout season, which I believe we've been doing well since September, since the Toronto Maple Leafs have been back on air. So yeah,
And so you guys talk about sports? Like what exactly do you talk about in the
yeah. Well,
timeout?
it is all Toronto, Ontario-based sports. So we talk of mostly the Maple Leafs because that is our passion, and we're well into hockey season. I know you don't see any snow out there in Vietnam, but I mean we don't see much snow here either. But we are in the cold, and we are back to hockey season. So that's been our general topic. But we have touched on some baseball news with Shohei Ohtani, the Japanese superstar, the possibility of him landing in Toronto. Of course, he went to Los Angeles, unfortunately. Boo, by the way, Mr. Shohei, boo. But congratulations on that big contract down there in Los Angeles. You gave us lots to talk about. And yeah, our show is called Sports Timeout. And if you do want to view it, just tune in to Whistle Radio. You can go online and just download it, whistleradio.com, and take a look at 5:30, or I mean take a listen at 5:30 to 6, and we're always there. My
And
deep voice.
how did they find you? Like did they find you or did you find them?
Well, it's a long story there as well. I was working in the city down in Toronto, and at the time I sent out an email to Whistle Radio. I was riding a bus to a subway, and they had rerouted us, and an hour journey became two. So I was speaking to my late friend who has passed away, and his name's Ray Lambert. I want to acknowledge Ray. Ray was a big influence on getting me to speak hockey. He would shoot so many questions about hockey in general, and of course the Maple Leafs. I actually have a shrine to him over to the side over here that I built. Uh, yeah, but it's really taken off in the corner, thanks to Ray. And so Ray always said, you should be on the local radio. I don't know why you're not on radio. And I said, well, I don't think I'm worthy of being on a show every week. But that day I thought, you know, I'm riding this train to a subway to who knows where for a little bit of money that day. And I thought, why not just send out an email, send out a few episodes of Ken's Corner, and you just never know. See if it sticks. Well, I wasn't really expecting anything, but by the time I got off that subway, 40 minutes later, I was getting a call from the CEO of Whistle Radio, Mr. Bob Pritchard, and he said, usually we just throw these. We get a lot of requests just like this, and usually we just kind of throw them in the scrap pile in the corner. But there's something about yours that I really wanted to touch base with you. Can you come in for a meeting? So I went into my local place here in Stouffville, Ontario, and I got a chance to meet Mr. Pritchard, and he's such a wonderful, wonderful man. And he said, what is it you want to do? And I kind of gave him I was like, I don't know. I just want to talk sports. You tell me what I want to do. Kind of like what we did in the start 2 years ago. That that fateful night of the Maple Leafs beating up on your Ottawa Senators and
What else
all
is
of
new?
yeah, well, not so much this year. Ottawa's not a bad team. I do have some respect for the Ottawa Senators this year, although we still beat them, thankfully. But yeah, and I got a chance to meet my co-host from that day, Joe Moyer, and like I said, he keeps me going and he keeps me honest. And he started right from there, and we started doing it back and forth. And I did a bit of coverage of the Maple Leafs playoffs and the NHL playoffs, and it just kind of flourished since then. And I I respect that station for everything, and I every day that I'm on air, it's an honor, and I guess that's but all I have to say about that, Mary.
Well, I just want to honor that it's, as humans, we often fear rejection. It's something that I feel like is often like programmed into us. So I want to honor the courage it took to actually send out that email. And I'm really happy that that energy came back and gave you the opportunity that you always dreamed of, realistically, of being on the radio. And who knows the next step that that could lead you to, which by working with the radio, I'm assuming that you got the opportunity to have a mainstream media event where you got to cover the Argos game.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yes, I did. So I came back from my vacation with my son Ash. We went to visit some family in Calgary, and when I came back, we sat down for a meeting on where we are going to go with it in September. That's okay. And yeah, I said to Bob, I would really love to just go be part of the mainstream media, have that feeling of what that would be like, and how could I do this? And he looked me straight in the face and said, Ken, go do it. You have the support of the radio station. And I said, pardon me. He says, just go send the emails, go find the right people, go talk to the people. He goes, I have a lot of respect for you. Just go do it. You can do this. So I was like, oh my God, sorry. Oh my God, what am I going to do here? So I spoke to a friend who works down in the city core with a lot of different sports people. And he had actually spoken to the media relation. He has a relationship with the head of social media outlet to MSLE, which is Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, which covers the Maple Leafs, the Marlies, the Raptors, and the Toronto Argos. And he told her my story. And so she took my email and sent out a list of different relation managers for each section that I can email and try to do this. So me being a long time diehard CFL Canadian Football League fan, and especially my Toronto Argos, I don't think I've missed a Argo victory parade since the 90s, early 90s. So there's been a few of them. So yeah, that was my main focus and my goal. And I sent a letter out to the man who runs that area, and he sent me one back, and I remember thinking, oh my God, I got a message from the Toronto Argos, complete with the logo, and I felt like a superstar. And we worked it out, and I kind of pestered him. He asked me exactly what I want and who I am, and so I sent him out all my what we plan to do and what we plan to do with the coverage that we're going to do. And we sat back and waited. I was like, oh my God, he's not going to answer me. He's just kind of pushed me off. And then I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to try this one more time. So I sent out another message, and he said, sent back one, said, okay, we're going to give you one game. Here's the games of the rest of the season. I suggest that you take this one because it is the 150th anniversary for the Toronto Argos, and there's a big celebration planned with a lot of old Argonaut players, legends of Toronto Argos in attendance, as well as different media types. So of course I jumped on that option, and Joe Moyer and I set off that day down to BMO Field, which is where the Argos play here down by the lake in Toronto. And I mean, it didn't go off without with a few hitches along the way. When we got there, they couldn't find our media passes right away, so we had to wait 15, 20 minutes. And when they did, they only had media pass for me. And I said, well, if you don't let my co-host in, thank you, but I declined this offer. I'm not going in without my partner. So they quickly wrote one up for Joe, and they sent us up down this alley. And I said, so how do we get to the press box? They're like, well, go down there, you'll find an elevator. We're like, okay, there's not anyone that's going to escort us down to this elevator. Or like, oh no, since you have the pass, you're good, just go. Okay. So here we are, we're walking down, we see cases of pop and food and stuff that are going out to the fans, and we're like, where are we? We find this service elevator. Or maybe this is the elevator. We push the button. I push the button again. I push the button the third time, and Joe says, I don't think that elevator's coming, Ken. And I said, well, no, I'm going to try and push this button. They told me this is how we get there. So I started pushing on the button, pushing the button. Yeah, that elevator didn't come. So we turned around and we went down this alley, and we ended up right in behind the Argonauts bench. So here I am standing about 10 feet away from every Argonaut player that was standing on that sideline. And about, I don't know, well, I mean, CFL, there isn't a lot of fans, but there's still a good 15,000 fans in attendance that night. And they were all looking down at us. I'm in a suit that day. Yeah, I wanted to represent as best as possible the radio station. So they were looking at us like, who the hell are these guys? Right. Like, so they walked us up right through the stands and all the way up to the press box. So
Wow.
yeah, so we got
And
a
you went out
chance.
to the press box, and was it live? Were you doing live
We
commentary?
Well, we didn't do live, but we took our notes and we used it for a later date for a recording at the stations that we got a chance to talk about. But during that night, we got the chance to understand what it was like to be in the press box. We were allowed to walk down into the crowd, and with my Whistle Radio microphone, we interviewed a few of the fans, the faithful, the Argonaut faithful down in the crowd, which was super fun to do. I've watched journalists and reporters do this for so many years, and at the end of the night, I wanted to get in and interview a few of my Toronto Argonaut players. Is what I really wanted to do. And I said to the lady who was running the press box area, how the heck do I get down to the Argo dressing room? And this man was standing. He's like, oh, I can take you down. I know where I'm going. So he took me down an elevator and he put me in this one area. And I'm seeing all these Edmonton Eskimo players, the opposite team, come through. And one of them being Trey Ford. And Trey Ford is a Canadian football player, a quarterback, and he is from Niagara Falls, which is very rare to get a Canadian quarterback in the CFL. So it was nice to see him walk by me, but I was there for the Toronto Argos, and the man said, "Are you here for Ford?" I'm like, "Actually, I'm here to interview the Argos." And he was from the Toronto Star. He introduced himself, and he says, "Well, you're on the wrong side of the building." I said, "Huh? Well, how the heck do I get to the right side of the building?" He says, "Well, go down to the end of this pathway here and talk to the security guards." So I said to the security guards, "What do I do?" They said, "Well, go out past the end of the field and walk all the way around the field and down the other end to the end zone. You'll find the Argos down there." And I kind of looked at him like, is anyone going to escort me and just going to walk by myself through BMO Field? He looked at my media pass. He says, "Yeah, go right ahead." And I'm like, oh my God. So here I am walking through BMO Field by myself. The stadium is empty of people. I'm looking up, going, "Oh my God!" I'm literally standing on the field at BMO Field, and it kind of came crashing down on me. I teared up a little bit, but then the reporter in me kind of kicked in, and I said, "What am I doing? Go on Facebook, do a live. What's the matter with you? You're an influencer. Get the heck on and tell people what you're doing here." So I did a live all the way down the side end of the field, and the Argos were celebrating with their family in the end zone. So when I got there, I was standing around with them, and just me, my only reporter there. My partner had gone to get our coats and bags from the checkout area, and I'm like, well, I guess I better ask someone for an interview. So I looked at the first Argo player that was there, and his name is Boris Beatty. He's the kicker for the Argos, and punter. And I said, "Mr. Beatty, can I have an interview?" And he said, "Yes, of course." And then I thought, "Oh my God, I've never done a face-to-face interview with anyone." And then I put the microphone up into his face, and I thought, "Okay, I can do this. Just get the microphone up there." And then I thought, "Oh my God, how close do I have to put the microphone to his face?" And I was like, "Please don't hit him in the face with the microphone. Please don't hit this man in the face with the microphone." So it went off pretty good. I interviewed three Argo players, and they were so gracious and helped me through. They obviously knew that this is my first time, and I'm a rookie at what I was doing, but they walked me through it, and I asked the same questions of all three players, just to be safe. So
And that
yeah.
was live on Facebook, the interviews with them?
Oh no, I recorded it, my voice, and then later my editor and CEO and my chief, Mr. Bob Pritchard, released them on one of our weekly radio shows.
Oh, that's awesome. And so do you think that you'd be able to be invited again, or would you have to reach out again to try to
I
go to another?
Yeah, I would reach out again, but the lady actually there told me on the way out. She said, "So when are you coming back?" So
Hmm, that's
I
awesome.
yeah. So I mean, I'm a quirky kind of guy, and I'm always the life of the party. So the people inside that media booth, they knew who Whistle Radio and who Ken Judge was when I left, and right down to making sure I was first in line for the nutty chocolate ice cream bars.
That's very Gemini of you.
Yeah, that
Um,
is true.
so that was one fun event that you got to do, but sorry, with wrestling, you were able to also go to Montreal, which is about 6 hours away from you. And you did an event with Jacques Rougeau's Wrestling Academy. Is that correct?
Yes, if you want to say it in French, I've learned this. Lutte Academy 2023 with my dear friend Jacques Rougeau and Jeremy Prophet and Jacques' wife Natalie, such an amazing lady. She's actually the person behind the scenes, but if you ask Jacques, that's his real boss. Natalie runs the show.
I believe it. And so were you doing a live, or what were you doing there
Well,
exactly?
I I don't know. Well, a lot of people here will know if you've watched me through with my wrestling world people that I do a lot of work with Magnum McLaren. He's a professional wrestler, and he's doing quite well. And so I followed Magnum to this show and passed out my Ken's Corner Magnum sucks signs, and me and my couple of my Ken's Corner posse, I would like to name them as. We handed out probably 400 of these posters. By the end of the show, everyone, or the part that Magnum was in, everyone was chanting "Magnum sucks," and they were holding up these signs. Jacques Rougeau has asked me when I do come back to Wrestling Academy if I could leave the posters behind. And Jacques, yes, I will not bring the posters because they did get thrown in the ring that night. Poor Magnum was getting pelted with them, so he felt like the heel that he portrays in the wrestling world.
Well, so since we're talking about wrestling, I'm curious, have you thought about making some sort of a wrestling fan panel and putting that together for the next season?
I actually have thought about it. We did have a couple gentlemen on who are super fans, and both of them, they travel all over this country to watch wrestling events, and it was so nice having them on and learning their stories.
So do you think that's something you'll continue doing, bringing some wrestling fans together as
Yeah,
well?
yeah. Well, I have my Maple Leaf fan panel, so that keeps me very, very, very busy. So I do want to. I just need to get the right people involved
Right.
in it, and I would like to have a fan panel for every sport, to be
So if
honest.
anyone's listening, hint, hint, reach
Yeah,
out to Ken. Here's your
exactly,
chance.
exactly. Reach out to
So
me at Ken's Corner Podcast at gmail.com.
yeah, and a blend of men and women would be nice as well, especially in the wrestling world. It seems to be
Definitely.
quite large with the women, so that's good. But you mentioned your hockey fan panel, and now is Paul Hendricks a regular guest into this fan panel?
Well, he was our special guest on our last fan panel. So the guys on the fan panel have been so gracious to come on and tell their stories and talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs that we all have in common. We love our Leafs and we love our the NHL hockey and hockey in general. So I wanted to throw him a bit of a bone and bring on my co-host Joe Moyer and add on Paul Hendrick. I know all of them grew up listening to Paul's iconic voice, so it was amazing to have him on there, and everyone was so happy to be involved in that. I would love Paul to come back. He seems to be very easy to for me to. He's on my speed dial and always easy uh, to come on and always answers. So I guess I got him at a great time in his life, being retired that he is. So he's not so busy, and yeah, I just love having him around and love hearing what he has to say. And I parrot a lot of his opinions or my opinions to this day.
So it's funny because he was your very first podcast,
He
correct?
was, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like been the one that keeps coming through. So you must have some highlights. Like, what are your favorite moments you've had with Paul Hendrick?
Well, interviewing Paul while he's over in Spain, kind of like what we're doing here today, is so amazing. You can see how warm it is there compared to where I am, and just everything about Paul. And he's so, like I said, he's so gracious, and he shares his experiences, and he doesn't look down on you for not being at the level that he is. Like, you have to remember Paul has 50 years experience doing what I want to do every day. Like 50 years for me, I'm going to be 106. So
Yeah.
just take that into context there, and the
Yeah.
experience and the knowledge that this man has. So everything he says, I hang on the side of my seat. I mean, the first time I interviewed him, and like you said in that first interview, I was holding my seat for dear life and couldn't believe that I was face to face with such an iconic person that I just love that man.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm so happy that it's like you start a podcast, but you think you're just gonna talk for, I don't know, however many episodes until you reach that like goal of having someone like Paul Hendrick be the person you're interviewing. But it happened right from the get-go, and he has been so receptive towards wanting to connect and grow with you. So I think that's really amazing. Hopefully, Paul, if you're listening, that you could connect on the fan panel talk. I think that would be really awesome to continue connecting like that. But I think we should wrap this up. And I want to ask you two more questions. What was the highlight of this season for you? Whether it's personal, whether it was the people, what was your biggest highlight for this whole season?
Well, the highlight is just the honor of having people come on to the podcast. Uh, Believe it or not, it's not hard finding people to come on and tell their stories, but I mean, you're taking their time out of their life, and it's very, very, very on my end is such an honor. I do say that I think almost every podcast at the end, but I do want to highlight the fact that I've had so many female content this season. It's been a focus for me to get that because in season one, sorry guys, but I think every podcast other than you might have been a man. So it's been a focus to highlight the female world and all the great things that they do for us out there, especially in the wrestling world. Their stories are so down to earth, and you just live with every word that they say, and it's every podcast, if you want to know the truth, has been my highlight.
Well, I just want to honor that. I think it's how open and available you make yourself to be able to have people willing to share their story. Because I feel like ultimately we love sharing our story. It's just we need that kind of open door to feel like we have to. So keep on being persistent and reaching out and being open to that. So we only have a couple more minutes here. So I want to know, what can we expect for season 3? Any ideas or
season
find
3?
anything?
Season 3, we're going to open up with a man who's an impersonator. So I grew up loving Randy Macho Man Savage from the WWF days, and this man speaks and acts and dresses just like him. I can't wait to get him on air and ask him some Macho Man different questions, and just loving the fact that he's with me. When I asked him to come on, he's like, "I know who you are, Ken. I'm well aware of Ken's Corner," and that it was so nice to hear someone say that. I do hope to have Mr. Chris Johnson from TSN rejoin me. I believe there's some smoke, and where there's some smoke, there's usually some fire here at Ken's Corner. So hopefully he'll be back sometime in February. I want to run as many wrestling podcasts as I can. I want to work with Whistle Radio and continue doing that, and just be open to whatever comes in my future, because that's what we did, and that's why we are where we are today.
Well, I'm going to speak for everyone here. We're excited, but take your time. I feel like this season has been quite long and ongoing. So whatever time you need, we will be here ready to continue listening and see who else you bring on the podcast and see how else you evolve outside the podcast. Like maybe next time we talk, you're on TV.
Yeah, well, that would be the end goal for sure.
Yeah.
To get a little money behind what we're trying to do here, and making this community grow. But if that's your last question, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take over for 1 second, but I'm going to let you actually sign up. I'm Ken from Ken's Corner, and I've been excited and honored to have my host here today, Mary, but I'm going to let her close the show off.
Okay, well, thank you, Ken. We appreciate what you're doing, and we look forward so much and for your next season. But like I said, take your time. We'll be here waiting for you whenever you're ready.
And
Thank you for joining.
thank you. And please be safe out there in Vietnam. And I can't wait for you guys to land back in Canada. You have a
Me
great day,
neither.
Mary.
Okay, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.